Great question to ask. Who's going to be riding? You might want to even ask, do you own a wakeboard? Is this your first wakeboard? If the goal here for any of you guys is to develop a rapport with the customer, whatever it happens to be. No, none of these closed-end questions. You know, you looking for a wakeboard today? The answer is going to be no. 80% of the time, you're going to say, no, I'm not looking for a wakeboard. And then a second later say, hey, I got a question on a wakeboard. So you want to ask them some open-ended questions and start talking to them just to get a feel for where they're coming from. Do they own a wakeboard? Do they own a boat? Do they just buy a boat? Are they going on a trip? You know, so these different things. Say, hey, how's the weather outside? I haven't been out there in 6 hours. I've been on the sales floor. Oh, it's great. Cool. It's a great day to wakeboard. I swear, you got one in your hand. What kind of wakeboard do you own? Oh, I own a Hyperlight from 1997. Wow, things have improved so much since then. Let me tell you a little bit about liquid force wakeboards. When you pick up a liquid force wakeboard off the wall, there's a few features on every single one of our boards that you can point out that are great for the customer to kind of get an idea of where we're coming from. The very first thing you can do with any board that you carry at Sports Chalet from Liquid Force is we have a beam that runs down the center of the board. So you actually take the board off the wall. I know they look pretty on the wall, but take it down, give it to the customer. Once they kind of take some ownership of it, helps out a little bit on your sale, gives you some credibility. Say, feel that beam down the center? There's just a little bump right here. You're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Well, what that does is when the board lands, it dissipates the water left and right and softens the landing. Doesn't seem like much, and most boards out on the market today have this, but 4 years ago, most boards did not. Alright? Most of your customers now are either buying a brand new board or they're replacing something they have, right? And a big portion of them now are replacing something they have. A couple years ago, this is their first board. You're still going to get a lot of those customers, especially because of the business that you guys run, but you're also going to be getting people that, hey, I have something from 97, I have something from 2002. Wow, let me show you something new that wakeboards have today that they didn't have 4 years ago. And it's a beam down the center. Every Liquid Force wakeboard has that, alright? That you guys sell in those. The second feature of all of our wakeboards is we bevel the rail. Okay? You guys all sell snowboards? Snow skis? Yeah. It's the first thing you do when you sell a snowboard or a snow ski before the customer can take it and ride it. What? Detune it. Exactly. Why do you guys detune the snowboard? Anybody know? Has anybody sold a snowboard?
So they actually just catch your force.
Exactly. When you detune or you blunt off the tip and tail of a snowboard or a snow ski, it helps the board or the ski roll in and out of turns and keep you catch free, right? So we do that for you, because if you detune the wakeboard, you'd have a bunch of fiberglass shards all over the place. It doesn't exactly detune like a metal edge snowboard. So what we do is we actually bevel the rail. On a snowboard, you enter and exit a turn on the tip and tail, right? On a wakeboard, since you're in water, the water level is going to be here. The tip's going to be a little bit out of the water. So you're actually going to enter your turn and exit your turn through the middle of the board. So we bevel the rail here, and then it tapers down to a really sharp edge here, just like detuning the snowboard. We do it differently on all the different boards, depending on how we want that board to roll in and out of a turn. For instance, if you're detuning a board from the park, you'd probably detune it a little bit more than it's something that you'd be riding, So that's two features. The third thing with all Liquid Force wakeboards is we're extremely thin on the tip and tail. Alright? When you pick up our boards, you can look at other companies and manufacturers' boards, you'll notice, wow, that's pretty thin. Alright? Why would we do that? Exactly, spin. So, low swing weight on the outside of the edge makes the board enter and exit a turn really easily, makes it rotate really easily, that kind of thing. Our boards, on whole, are thinner than most manufacturers. To that end, our inserts are about a quarter turn shallower because our boards are thinner. So if you take Hyperlight boots and put them on our boards, you're going to have to add an extra washer, just so you guys know that. Our old boards from about 5 years ago were about a half a turn shallower. So if you have an old Liquid Force board and you're putting new boots on it, you need to put 2 washers. Alright? So if you guys ever do that and you're throwing their old boots on here and for some reason it's like, dang, this thing won't tighten up on this Liquid Force board, it's a piece of crap. It's not true. It's just our inserts are a little shallower, so throw a washer on there. If you don't have a washer, give me a call. We'll send you a couple out. No big deal. Hyperlight and some of the other manufacturers even make shorter screws just to fit our boards. Alright? Cool. So your lineup starts with the Trip. Number 1 selling board, $299 is our package price. You have a few wakeboards at your other store, not from us, that are a little bit lower priced than $2.99. You give them $2.89 or $2.69, somewhere in there. We don't do that. We don't mess with that market. We're kind of a little higher end company, so we start at $2.99. The Trip has all those features I just pointed out: the beam, the beveled rail, thin tip and tail, molded fin. You guys know about rocker? No. Alright, so let's tell you a little bit about rocker. Wakeworks can be built one of two ways. You can have a continuous rocker, so it curves one continuous arc, tip to tail, so you know, kind of like a rainbow. Or the board can have a flat spot in the middle, and then kink. Does that make sense? So it's flat, then it kinks twice. That would be a 3-stage rocker board. When a 3-stage rocker board hits the wake, the flat spot hits the wake, and the board goes up, but not out. A little bit out, don't get me wrong, but just the trajectory is very up. A continuous rocker board generally rides off the wake and goes out, but not as high up. So for most beginners that are just looking to clear the wake, that are just beginning, they like a continuous rocker board because it's smooth, it's consistent. Every time they hit the wake, it pops exactly the same, and it gives them a little bit more outward pop. The 3-stage rocker boards tend to be a little bit more advanced, and they give you a little bit more height, so you have time to do tricks before you land on the other side of the wave. The downfall with those boards are they tend to plow a little bit of water because that flat spot, and when they hit the wake, you have to hit the flat spot exactly on the wake to get the maximum pop. So again, they tend to be for intermediate level riders up into advanced. That doesn't mean a beginner can't ride a 3-stage rocker board. That's not true. You can take the most advanced board on your wall and sell it to the beginnerest person in the world, and they'll have a good time. It's not like snow skis or snowboards where you take like the real high-end stuff and the beginner just would have a horrible time on it. You can take whatever you want. It's kind of like a computer. You know, buy as much technology as you can afford and as much technology as you're gonna use. You know, if you go out and buy a $5,000 Mac Pro and you're just, you know, reading email on it, well, you overbought the computer for what you're gonna use, right? But that doesn't mean you can't do email on it, right? It's the exact same thing in wakeboards, not just from my company, but all the way across the board. Somebody comes in and spends $1,000 for a wakeboard, and it's their first time going out, they're still going to have a good time wakeboarding. You don't have to worry about that, but they probably paid a little bit more than they needed to pay to have a good time. That being said, if you have a guy that comes in here and wants to spend $1,000 on a wakeboard, package one up and have a great day, alright?